Today in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is not only current, but very, very relevant. And the topic is education for total consciousness. Modern education ignores the relationship between the student's inner landscape of thoughts and emotions and his or her outer world. One feels as if one is separate from the world, unable to connect with it. This creates a sense of alienation and fear and is responsible for the mounting incidents of stress, addiction, failed relationships, and violence. Suffering on the individual, societal, and the global scales are expanding. Holistic education reduces the gap between self and world by providing subjective awareness to objective happenings. The earth is composed of approximately 28% solid matter and 72% water. This is objective knowledge. But when we learn that our body too is composed of 28% solid matter and 72% water, it is subjective knowledge. We understand the subjective experience of thirst or drowning, and so we can understand drought and floods. This knowledge connects one to other humans, society, the environment, and the universe. The core of education for total consciousness, ETC, is to impart true and total knowledge to solve the conflicts of the individual and the world. For education to be total, the objective and subjective plans of knowledge must be integrated. This means an individual needs to realize that the subjective factors or the internally experienced world and the objective factors or the externally experienced world are one and the same. In short, the human being is a miniature of the universe. This realization is the foundation of universal love. The power of subjective objective experienced as experience-based wisdom changes one's thoughts and actions. The linking of objective with the subjective expands the student's concept of self, enabling one to see the universe and self as an unbreakable whole. Education for total consciousness demonstrates to learners that the individual is a microcosm of the universe and that their thoughts and actions have a significant effect on the world as the world has an effect on them. In ETC, the students link the topic to themselves. This is called integrated objective and subjective learning. The object is anything in the outer world. The subject is anything in their inner world, such as their body, emotions, intellect, ego, and consciousness. For education to be total, the objective and subjective plans of knowledge must be integrated. The core of ETC is to impart true and total knowledge to solve the conflicts in the individual and the world. Through the unique methodology of education for total consciousness, every lesson will impart knowledge about the objective reality, the outer world, with knowledge the subjective reality, one's own self. Every student will attain complete knowledge and will understand that he or she is a miniature of the universe. This is a school for making real human beings. Education is the fundamental tool for empowering human beings to realize their essential nature, the light and bliss of total consciousness. Formal education in the school will impart a scientific methodology for assisting in this realization process. We are all a part of our environment, family, society, nation, and world, and we love them as we love ourselves. Discovering or rediscovering the true purpose of education is a hot issue today. In 2011 and 2012, one website posed this question to educationists and started a great debate on the topic. Everyone had a different answer. Dave White from Oxford University suggested education is about disruption. Paul Simbeck Hampson said it is to develop inclusiveness. Tom Barrett said it is to cradle happiness, and dozens more had other theories. We believe that education is directly linked to society's direction or lack of direction. When education's purpose is clear, the function of the society becomes clear. When the educators themselves disagree about the purpose of their role, society begins to exhibit symptoms of fragmentation, disharmony, and decay. The purpose of education is to impart wisdom and build character. Society is benefited by having noble and wise citizens. Education for total consciousness returns the noble purpose to education and addresses the root causes of individual and societal problems such as racism, greed, intolerance, terrorism, etc. The ETC denotes the integration of knowledge in the objective and subjective levels that leads to total consciousness. While teaching, the teacher is the subject. The student is an object to him or her, and the lesson is an object to him or her. While learning, the student is the subject, the teacher is an object to him or her, and the lesson is an object to him or her. The knowledge imparted by the teacher and imbibed by the students remains in the objective plane only. Knowledge is to be integrated into the subjective level also. The inner consciousness of the student and teacher and the outer consciousness merge. The knowledge in the objective plane and knowledge in the subjective levels are blended together. Now knowledge has become total. That is the light of happiness, total consciousness. Systematically trains teachers and students to see oneself in the outside world and in other beings. Produces the skills to develop complete knowledge and wisdom, improves relations between the teacher and student, imbues students with dignity, responsibility, selflessness, self-respect, compassion, and love of world, increases student concentration and efficiency, bring out the best in each child through personalization of the learning experience, offers a scientific and thorough way to analyze the student development, requires no change to the student curriculum, can be used in any culture, language, or region of the world. So to discuss this very, very important and relevant topic, education for total consciousness, we have a very elite, very well experienced, those who are authority on this topic, that is education for total consciousness, panelists are with us. I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS is one-man expert commission on labor to prepare an action plan for the welfare and development of the workforce in the context of COVID-19, Government of India. He is also the principal advisor, National Heritage Project. He was former head of Disaster Management, Government of India, and Central Drought Relief Commissioner, Government of India. He was the Vice Chancellor of National Museum, University of Delhi. To his credit, 300 publications, including 45 books in English, Malayalam, and Hindi novels, short stories, and essays. 4 of his books have become bestsellers. One book of his on housing received prestigious the Sharjah International Book Fair Award. Dr. Bose is an housing expert, innovator, writer, orator, and visionary. The path-breaking institutions set up by him, such as Narmiti Kendra Building Center, District Tourism Council, and Habitat Alliance, have been replicated at the state, national, and global level. He was the head of the prestigious Supreme Court Committee on the Treasurers of Sri Padmanabha Swami Temple. Dr. Bose had a divine mission of coordinating the design and construction of the Sanctum Sanctorum of Chakkukulla Tukavu Temple. Dr. Bose addressed United Nations General Assembly and specialized sessions 5 times on various international issues. Dr. Bose is a recipient of 31 national and international awards, including United Nations Global Best Practice Award. He also received prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship. Kerala government termed him Lord of Ideas. Former Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh called him inspired civil servant, and our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi called him Man of Ideas. Welcome Dr. C.V. Anand Bose on our show. Dr. Bose, today's topic is a very, very relevant topic, especially for the new generation or for the future generation. And it is, as I researched and I found that it has nothing to do with any religion, any caste, creed, any language, any country. Definitely, it's something which is an eye-opening thing. And definitely, we would like to know your views on education for total consciousness. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. You have succinctly put across the complex concept of education for total consciousness. We know education is enrichment, education is empowerment, education is enlightenment, and education is emancipation. Paulo Freire has given the call for conscientize and progress. Through conscientization, how a society can progress from the ridiculous to the sublime has been demonstrated effectively in recent years in Latin America by Paulo Freire and his pedagogy of the oppressed. Aristotle has said, the roots of education is bitter, but the fruits are sweet. Mahatma Gandhi has told us, live as if you die tomorrow. Learn as if you live forever. Nelson Mandela has struck the nail on the head when he said, the most powerful tool for changing society is education. It is in this background that we are assembled here to analyze a new and enlightening concept of education. Education for total consciousness. This is a concept that has been developed and told to the world with great effect by none other than Jagadguru Swami Isha. Recently, we had a global conference on education for total consciousness. There were representatives, philosophers, educators, vice chancellors, intellectuals, and practitioners and teachers from 5 continents who participated in this important conference. What does the education for total consciousness imply for the nation? What does it signify for the world? I think this has been authentically stated by none other than the Prime Minister of India. The Prime Minister of India is on record that a lifelong process. Education helps assimilate, find human values, leading to harmonious and balanced growth of an individual. Education and knowledge have become a tool for the nation building to the extent that leading nations and societies of the 21st century will be knowledge nations and knowledge societies. I repeat what the Prime Minister of India said, knowledge nations and knowledge societies. Knowledge-oriented Indian heritage, Sri Narendra Modi adds, knowledge-oriented Indian heritage and tradition contains solutions to every global challenge that we face today. Our scriptures are filled with practical wisdom in dealing with day-to-day challenges, as said the Prime Minister of India. Building upon such a rich legacy, we have introduced far-reaching reforms in the education sector to make our youth future-ready. Our vision is to make education learning-based, integrated, and interdisciplinary. New age learning needs students to imbibe creativity, innovative thinking, and futuristic skills. The brainstorming session by academic experts at the online platform will lead to an assimilation of best global practices in the education sector for the betterment of humanity. And the Prime Minister Narendra Modi wishes, may this endeavor help assimilate innovative ideas to enable global youth to integrate their aspirations and efforts with a larger good. It's a standing and appreciation of the new concept of education for total consciousness that has been put forth to the world as a gift by His Holiness Jagadguru Swami Isha. What is objective? What is subjective? There is no dichotomy among the two. From a spiritual point of view, from an esoteric point of view, Jagadguru Swami Isha has been propounding this concept in a very simple terms across the world over the years. As an ordinary layman who has learned from the feet of the Jagadguru, I would say there is telltale evidence of this from everyday life. When you teach a child what is the meaning of mother, you may explain. The mother is a human being, female, gives rise to the child, raises the child, feeds the child. Yes, the mother has got 2 eyes, 2 legs, everything is there. That is the objective analysis, objective knowledge about mother. But what is the subjective knowledge? For the child, the mother is a sensation. Mother is love. Mother is protection. Mother is security. So I can lead your attention to an incident which took place in a rural village, rural area. The 4-year-old child has to go to school every day. She has to cross over a slippery foot overbridge. That bridge is slippery. The mother will accompany the child during rains. As the child is about to step foot on the slippery bridge, the mother would say, darling, hold on to your mother's hands tightly. The 4-year-old child, no. Mom, it's not enough that I hold on to your hand. Mom, you have to hold on to my hands. The mother said, what difference does it make? Isn't it the same? Whether I hold your hand or you hold my hand. The child says, no. If I hold your hand, I may look here and there, and I may loosen my grip over you. But if you hold my hand, Mom, you will never lose that grip over me. That is the subjective understanding of the child about the mother. Mother represents love. Mother represents compassion. Mother represents everything that is noblest and best in the world. And now you see what objective science teaches us about the human being called the mother, the objective knowledge, is much different from the subjective knowledge, which that very same mother embodies. Therefore, when Swamiji says in philosophical terms, the unity of the objective and the subjective, there is nothing esoteric about it. What he is expounding is what is implied in everyday life. If knowledge has to be meaningful, as the Prime Minister himself repeated here, if the knowledge has to be meaningful, it has to be a blend, a happy blend of the objective and the subjective. And what does knowledge ultimately mean? It's not just imparting information. You can get information from anywhere. You can pack your mind with a whole library if you want. But information is not knowledge. Information is not wisdom. What Swamiji teaches us is that integrated way of looking at education. Education for total consciousness. Education should bring out the best that is there within you. Even at the sake of repetition, I would say about the lions of the Gir forest. You know, there are a lot of lions in the Gir forest. During the summer season, all the animals will come to drink water from the only stream in the jungle. That stream is full of crocodiles. There comes the wild horse, tries to drink from the water from the pond, from the stream. The crocodile comes behind it, catches its legs, drags it to the water, and the horse is finished. Then comes a buffalo. The crocodile goes behind it, gives it a big bite on its tummy, turns somersault. The big buffalo is also finished. Then comes a lioness with the 2 cubs. The lioness rests on the bank. The 2 cubs play on the mother. The crocodile comes with the intention of catching one of the cubs. The lioness realizes something is wrong behind. The lioness just raises its head. The crocodile is in 2 minds. The crocodile goes 2 steps backwards. Still, it doesn't reach the place. The lioness turns its head and looks at the crocodile. The crocodile runs for its life. What does the lioness do? The lioness did not do anything. The lioness showed its inner strength. Everyone has an inner strength. Education equips you to discover this inner strength. That is what education does. The education of the type which Swamiji advocates, so this education for total consciousness, is based on the study of the inner space. Science claims, of course, we have eminent nuclear scientists like Seduma with us. Science is right. Science has mastered the outer space, but not the inner space. So we say, those who know Swamiji's credo, have learned his principles and heard his lectures. We say, including scientists, that Swamiji is an astronaut of the inner space. You take care of the inner space, the outer space will take care of itself. Objective knowledge is not everything. Subjective knowledge. This also leads us to the Vedic concepts of Tattvamasi or Aham Brahma Asmi. It is not science alone. Science, spirituality, religion, philosophy, all rolled into this concept of education for total consciousness. It is high time that the world realizes the need for this. That is why recently we held a conference. Most of these experts who are here were also lead speakers and thinkers in the global conference. That is what the Prime Minister of India, so Narendra Modi, said will be a game changer as far as education is concerned. Now, one more point before I conclude, Mr. Goel. For education for total consciousness to be effective, we need teachers who can teach education for total consciousness. 1 or 2 instances. Dr. Bindu is also here. She's a teacher of teachers, an expert in this field. All of them are experts. Kiran is here. Juma is there. All of them are experts in their own field. So they will expand on what I would like to say. Swamiji has been insisting on India becoming a universal guru. India has all the potentials for this. 2 teachers I would like to present before you. 1, the President of India, his aircraft lands in the capital city of the country of Oman. There, the King of Oman, the ruler of Oman, Sultan Qaboos, comes to the tarmac to receive the visiting Indian president. That was in violation of the protocol. The Sultan himself does not come to receive a visiting head of state. The Sultan comes. Once the Indian president's aircraft lands there, the Sultan himself ascends the stairs, receives the president at his seat, escorts him down the stairs. Everybody was aghast at this breaking of protocol by the Sultan himself. Then, when it came to entering the car, the limousine, the Sultan tells his driver, I will drive the President of India. The Sultan on the seat of the driver and the president of India near him. It was big news. The Sultan himself explained to the press, there is no breach of protocol here. I, as the Sultan, I was not there to receive the head of the state of India. I went to receive my teacher. Shankar Dayal Sharma, President of India, happened to be the teacher of the Sultan Qaboos. He said, he is my teacher. There is no protocol as far as teachers are concerned. Guru is Guru. Acharya is Acharya. And the second instance, we have all heard of the tyrant of the despot, the fearful, fearsome Stalin. Stalin, the dictator, he was not in the habit of receiving ambassadors of other countries at their beck and call. He did not even give an opportunity for the then ambassador of India, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Pandit, to meet him even once. But Stalin waits for the next ambassador of India. He knew the ambassador is in the habit of sleeping over 9:30. So Stalin came at 8:30 to receive the Indian ambassador, because the Indian ambassador has to go to bed earlier. Normally, Stalin treats such people only after midnight or when he wants. Stalin waits to receive the Indian ambassador. The Indian ambassador comes. Very fondly, Stalin addresses him respectfully, Professor. And the Indian ambassador gives a pat on Stalin's cheek and compliments him. Everybody was aghast. You know who it was? It was Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, the Spalding professor of Oxford University. Stalin knew what is the worth of a professor, what is the worth of a teacher. This is a type of respect which Indian teachers had. What Jagadguru wants is also India should emerge. India has all the potential to emerge as a global guru, teaching the whole world what is education for total consciousness. This has become a credo of the future. I am sure that when the whole world realizes that there is no dichotomy between the subjective and the objective, when the world realizes that there is no dichotomy between science and spirituality, there we will see that our distorted vision about education will dispel. And as the Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, has visualized in the text which he has already given to us, this is going to be a game changer in the concept of education in the future. Education for total consciousness. Education for the future well-being of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, for enlightening us about the total consciousness, the education for total consciousness. As Dr. Bose has highlighted the importance of the teacher, as well as why this total education for total consciousness is important, inner and outer. As Dr. Bose has to leave for an important meeting, before leaving, I would like to ask one question to Dr. Bose. Dr. Bose, you know that the last year only, the National Education Policy 2020 was released and implemented this year officially by our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. Now, my question to you is, will a National Education Policy 2020 will be able to achieve the concept of education for total consciousness? Dr. Bose, please.
I thank you for the question itself. Though the education policy of India does
Dr.
not
Bose?
specifically refer to education for total consciousness, when you read between the lines, you will find that this policy is based on India-centric education. You know, this policy document is drafted not by an educationist alone. It is drafted by a scientist educationist, Dr. Kasturi Rangan. So the entire system of education which is envisaged here is science-based. But when he says science-based and India-centric, India has a tradition which believes in bridging the gap between the subjective and the objective. the spiritual aspect of Indian education, which was given the go-by when the Britishers introduced the Macaulay system of education. That was a West-centric education. I'm not undermining the West-centric education, but the India-centric education, which is based on the great teachings, researches and findings of the great gurus and rishis who derived inspiration from nature. They studied the mysteries of the universe from observing nature. That was given the go-by. And we were asked to learn lessons which are based on a new concept of education. That is the British system of education. Again, I'm not running it down. As Rudyard Kipling said, the East is East and the West is West. Never the twain shall meet. No, the twain shall meet. What is embedded in the new education policy of the government of India is nothing but a blend of the subjective and the objective. A blend of an education which is based on the Indian values, which are rooted in the empirical analysis and data derived by the rishis and acharyas. There is no dichotomy here. I'm sure that once it is seen in its totality, the new education policy, with its emphasis on India-centric education, and of course with Dr. Bindu and other experts here, now the new education policy envisages this is not going to be based on examination of rote learning. What the student has imbibed, what the student has assimilated, what the student has earned knowledge as his own, that is going to be the test. And there are no rigidities going to be placed on the child. If you want to learn Carnatic music and quantum mechanics, yes, you can. There is no rigidity on this. And a credit system which is given there. I think a great opening up has been done in the field of education. Viewed in its totality and implemented with the dexterity, the India-centric education, which forms the backbone of the new education policy, will certainly lead us to achieving that objective, which is enshrined in what Jagadguru tells, education for total consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, for giving your views. Now, I would like to show our viewers the one video which will highlight about the total consciousness, education for total consciousness. Dr. Dumas will like to share the screen for that.
Education for total consciousness. The subjective knowledge and objective knowledge. Learner thinking I am a subject, teacher, and all the teaching materials become object. When teacher be thinking I am subject, learner and teaching equipments, everything become object. Now we are thinking subject and object is different entity. No, individual is a miniature of universe. What are the things inside, that is outside. There is no separate entity.
Can a human being achieve perfection despite the limitations that surround us?
What is missing in today's educational systems is the awareness about the real function of education. Education must enlighten a human being, for true knowledge is light. Unfortunately, most of the knowledge we acquire is incomplete.
There are two forms of knowledge: objective knowledge, which means information about the world outside of ourselves, and subjective knowledge, which means information about the world inside of ourselves, including our body. The universe is an expression of the objective and subjective entities.
Modern education subjects each factor of the external world to careful observation and study, reaching up to the subatomic structure of an object. But no effort is made to study or analyze the internal entity. Education is not a mere process of accumulating information. Food taken is digested. Similarly, information gained through education has to be absorbed, to be a part of ourselves.
Students who identify with their lessons' topics in this way realize that whatever exists outside is present within, and both are the same. This is total education. Everything present in the external universe is present in the internal universe also. Both of these worlds are created by atoms. An analysis of the atom will reveal that the electron, neutron, proton, quark, gluon, etc. are bundles of energy, and energy is vibration.
The whole universe is created out of vibration, internally and externally. All branches of knowledge, too, are derived from energy. When we know energy, we know everything.
To understand any information, a clear idea about the fundamental element responsible for information is required. In mathematics, the number 1 is the basis of all the diverse applications. Without understanding 1, we cannot arrive at a clear solution. The fundamental unit of vibration is a quantum of energy called the I particle. The I particle vibrates with varying frequencies and wavelengths. Time, space, and matter are a result of its vibration.
It is well known that every vibration needs 2 forces to act upon it, positive and negative. The I particle has a positive pole and a negative pole, white matter and black matter. Between them is a neutral force, red matter.
Black matter vibrates at a high frequency and short wavelength, densely packed waves. It comprises 20% of the I particle. Red matter is mid-level frequency and wavelength. It comprises 30% of the I particle. White matter is low frequency and long wavelength, the most transparent. It comprises 50% of the I particle. I particles with different ranges of attraction and repulsion form 5 broad categories of matter, the 5 elements. Earth, or solid, is the densest, with 100% attraction. Water, or liquid, is 75% attraction. Fire, meaning heat and light, is equal amounts of attraction and repulsion. Air, or gas, is 25% attraction. And space, or ether, is 100% repulsion.
Everything in the universe is made of these 5 elements, and everything has its natural energy balance. Scientific knowledge about the formation, quality, and arrangement of energy is conducive to a positive state of life. The ability to keep the natural energy balance, both outside and inside, is the outcome of true and total education. All studies are purely energy in different forms, various manifestations. Students must come to an awareness about the basic factor of energy, both inside and outside.
The world can be divided into 2, the objective world and the subjective world. In the subjective plane, there is the organism, which is made of different layers: organ system, organs, tissues, cells,
Nuclei, chromosomes, DNA, nucleotides, polypeptides, proteins, amino acids,
solid, liquid, fire, gas, molecules, atoms, subatomic particles, the proton, neutron, and electron. Protons and neutrons are composite particles called hadrons in the modern standard model of physics. They are made of quarks, which are held together by the strong force and mediated by gluons.
Electrons are elementary particles called leptons. Elementary particles are believed to have no substructure. However, according to Swami Isa, the class of particles called elementary are not really elementary. They are composed of quanta, or packets of energy. There are two forms of quanta, the attraction quantum, or the A1 particle, and the repulsion quantum, or the S infinity particle.
A quantum is the amount of energy required to change one element to another. For example, when space changes into air, or air turns into fire, a certain percentage of I particles in repulsion change to the state of attraction. The required percentage to make this change is a quantum of attraction. On the other hand, solid can turn into liquid by a quantum of repulsion. All of these energy packets are made of single vibrations, the I particle.
Everything in the universe is composed of three types of matter: black matter, red matter, and white matter, which are the components of the I particle, the true fundamental particle. The I particle has a torus shape. The red matter is located in the center, while the black and white matters form the negative and positive poles. The I particle is the basic unit of energy in the subjective world.
It is the same in the objective world. The organism is part of the community. Population, ecosystem, biosphere, Earth, solar system,
Galaxy, galaxy group, supercluster, galaxy filament, universe.
solid, liquid, heat, gas, molecules, atoms,
Subatomic particles, A1 particles, S infinity particles, black matter, red matter, white matter, and the I particle.
In the objective plane, energy is expressed as the One. In the subjective plane, energy is expressed as the I. Energy is vibrating consciousness. Consciousness is non-vibrating energy. education must turn into a light that can understand energy and eventually lead us to total consciousness. This journey is the ultimate aim of education. That is education for total consciousness.
The self-knowledge called subjective knowledge or spiritual knowledge. External worldly knowledge called objective knowledge. When we can synchronize, when we can remove the gap, how we can able to balance for better life for self and better world. This is very important.
So, viewers, you have seen the video which was highlighting about the education for total consciousness. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Kiran Vyas. Professor Vyas is the Deputy Speaker of the Global Energy Parliament and founder of Tapovan Open University, France. Professor Vyas is the forerunner of Ayurveda in Europe, who introduced it in the early 1980s when no one yet knew what Ayurveda was. He is now recognized as a major player in the teaching of the art of living in the service of well-being and personal development for almost 40 years. A former student of the Sri Aurobindo International Education Center in Pondicherry, India, Dr. Kiran Vyas founded 3 experimental schools with his father, who was one of the Mahatma Gandhi's closest collaborators. At UNESCO, he worked as a permanent representative and member of the World Council of the INSEA, International Society for Education Through Art NGO. Settled in France, Dr. Vyas then moved towards the teaching of yoga and Ayurveda. His scientific training, his pedagogical sense, his keen interest in the evolution of body and mind, as well as his experience in creating schools, led him to develop Tapovan into an open university promoting interdisciplinary and intercultural exchanges. Since 2013, Dr. Vyas has served as the chairman of Global Energy Parliament France. Welcome, Dr. Kiran Vyas, on our show. Dr. Kiran Vyas, you have heard what Dr. C.V. Anand Bose has mentioned, and you have also watched the video which was shown on the screen. We would like to know from you your views on the education for total consciousness. Dr. Kiran Vyas, please.
Namaste. It's a great joy for me to speak to you, Mr. Goel, and all the panelists, and through you, a greater public of India and the world through this YouTube channel. I am extremely happy that at last the media is interested in the field of education for the world, and education, what I would say, going towards a true education, because we are all like icebergs, just a little part of ourselves we know, little part of the world and the universe we know, and a greater part remains hidden to us, invisible to us. And really speaking, this effort of education for total consciousness is not only to have the education for what we know externally, but we should go within. We should go and find out this part which is invisible. Of course, Swami Isha, with a very scientific way, he explained this. And that is quite interesting. My friend Christophe, a scientist, he also explained the same thing with the scientific elements. Education, in my mind, and I've had a great chance and occasion to speak to our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, and that also his interest in education, not only in education, but also women's education, and especially what I would say, the mother's education and the prenatal education, and I would even go beyond, that is to say, preconception education, which was a thing which existed in India. That is to say, education for women, education for the mothers, education before our birth, what we could do. So my personal view that this new adventure of education for the total consciousness is a great thing because it includes, first of all, the outer world, external education, from starting from the architectural point of view, how it should be, how a school should be, because a school or an area where we learn must have the atmosphere. For example, if you want to learn swimming, it's not enough just to speak about water and then have some drawings and show to you that you lift up your hand, follow this thing, do this movement. No, the best thing to learn swimming is to go into water. So the element, I mean to say, the experience of water is needed. To be in water is needed. So the first thing regarding education for me and education for the total consciousness also would be to be in that sort of atmosphere. Now, atmosphere of learning, because interaction between two persons, interaction between the object and the subject, interaction with the surroundings, all these things would build up our consciousness, will build up our mind. In fact, I had a great chance to work in the beginning of my career at Trivandrum at Thumba, and our Prime Minister, our President was one of the scientists working there. And then with Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, when the aim, what I found was very interesting, that India has inner knowledge. India must share this inner knowledge, but at the same time, India must be a strong nation, must be from the field, in the field of science, should be able to show to the world. So my proposal or my ideas regarding education, as you mentioned about my father who worked with Gandhiji, Gandhiji had asked him, especially in 1942, that was before my birth, when he was also in the jail. He was a close friend to Sardar Patel, and he was one of the first ones to come out of the jail. And then Sardar Patel said, well, you must take care of the Sabarmati Ashram school, and you must develop a system of education, what we'll call it Gandhi's. And he developed a system of 3H. First H for the head, that is the mental education, what we learn in the schools in general, history, geography, mathematics, science, other things. But the second H was for the heart. That is, the feeling should develop by music, by art, by drawing, by other things. And I would come back to that again, because in my view, when I visited Shantiniketan, that is the Tagore School, which is an interesting thing because Tagore, a great Nobel Prize winner, he was also a writer, he was also a dramatics, he was also a painter, he was also a singer, even Rabindra Sangit, there's a music. He used to say that education is not something which we give in four walls. School is not a hospital or a prison. For example, hospital, why? Ignorance, as if it's a disease and we want to get rid of that disease. And prison, why? Because as if we are closing down everybody. No, education should be something free because human being is not what the French philosopher said, je pense donc je suis. I think, therefore I am. No, Tagore said, I vibrate. Every human being is a vibrating person. Vibrations of joy, sorrows, vibrations of his happiness, because that is human being, that is a living being. So that is the second part of the heart part, that is the heart should be vibrating with good emotions, with good feelings. The third thing about Gandhiji's education was hands. Hands must work. That is, say, Gandhiji, of course, said that we would be doing spinning and we would be preparing cotton clothes, what is called khadi. And he himself used to spin. He himself, out of cotton, would prepare the cotton threads. But that gave not only love for work, but also a sort of a work which gives certain things. That is, say, which gives you livelihood, which gives you finance. In fact, in one of the schools, they could, by the work of the students and teachers, they could achieve almost a good salary. And then, so Gandhiji's education system came down to half-time school and half-time work. Let's say if we have 40 hours a week, then 20 hours would be devoted only to the work in the fields, work in the things. And in fact, I experimented when I was with UNESCO in some of the schools in Canada, where instead of work, we devoted this part to art and music and learning. And we could see the result that gave us very, very good results. But I would go forward very fast because according to me, the architecture will create some atmosphere, music and art will create some atmosphere, but then to give importance to the physical education. Physical education would mean, first of all, for the body, to keep the body in good health. And therefore, if there are some problems, physical problems, we should solve them either with allopathy, either with Ayurveda, or with some other pathies, but then keep the body fit, because body is our temple, body is our instrument. And therefore, a good physical education, and of course, the Olympic games and things that would help us. Then physical education also would mean that we are capable of running, throwing, playing different games, because that will give us something much more. Coming now to the main point, that is, this is all what is called avidya, knowledge only of the outer world, knowledge only of the human being, which is an ordinary being. For example, our ancient scriptures of India said that any animal would be having this, would be eating, would be drinking, would be sleeping, would be having a family. But then what is the aim, after all, of this life? What is the aim of human being? Who am I? I must find out. Know thyself, Socrates said, but Tattvamasi or Kosmi, and even Raman Maharshi, he asked us to find out, who am I? So this quest to find oneself would be the going towards the inner path. And for that, an education should help us to go towards this inner path. And that by itself, help, first of all, by the family, secondly, help by the teachers, who should be an example, and then third, by the great leaders of consciousness, some gurus, because without an enlightened person, just talking about enlightenment is not enough. And therefore, I would suggest, in fact, I would just tell you an interesting short example. Once when I was a teacher in India, and just one teacher, one lady teacher, she once came to my office and said, Mr. Vyas, I'm extremely sorry, but I can't control my class. Students are shouting and making a lot of noise. Whereas I found that you were capable of just silencing the class just by your presence or just by a word or two. What is your secret, sir? I was in a jovial mood. Then I just asked her, Miss, do you have your checkbook? Can you write to me a check of 10,000 rupees? She said, yes, I have my checkbook. But, even if I write a check for 10,000 rupees, it won't work because I don't have that much amount in my account. I said, that is precisely the thing. Before you tell your students, be silent, keep quiet, you need to have quietness within you. That is, fundamentally, if you have the quietness and peace in you, you can ask for the peace. And therefore, what I would say, that let us all work to have ourselves that total consciousness, go towards that, and peace within us. Then naturally, what some questions come, I will answer, but I will stop here.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kiran Vyas. Now, without wasting any time, because the paucity of time, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he's Dr. Christophe Dumas. Dr. Dumas is the Director of Global Energy Parliament Research Center, France. Dr. Dumas is a researcher at CEA, the French government's Atomic and Alternative Energy Commission, and Director of the Global Energy Research Center. He is a specialist in energy, having worked on nuclear waste management and dismantling nuclear plants. Later, he became the head of the solar thermal department in CA Kadrache. He designs and operates solar plants to produce electricity, hydrogen cooling system, and desalination unit. He joined the Global Energy Parliament in 2012 and has co-authored 3 articles about the I theory with His Holiness Jagat Guru Swami Isa. Dr. Dumas is also founder of a school for alternative education in south of France, where he lives with his wife Gauri, a teacher. Welcome, Dr. Christophe Dumas, on our show. Dr. Dumas, you have heard what Dr. C. Anand Bose as well as Dr. Kiran Vyas has spoken. Now, we would like to know your views on education for total consciousness. Dr. Christopher Dumas, please.
So, namaste. So thank you to give me the opportunity to talk in this great talk. And just I would like to say a few words about the I theory. Actually, the I theory is very relevant because nowadays people don't know exactly what we are doing and assessing what we are doing about on the Earth, on the planets. and we are destroying everything because the knowledge now is very poor. As Einstein said, everything is energy, and the science of energy is the key point of everything. If we understand the science of energy, we can solve everything. And this is the aim of the Global Energy Parliament Research Center. We want to provide affordable solution for solving the current crisis. So we already start with the COVID-19, and yes, we published an article applying the ITERI, explaining that the COVID virus actually is not a natural virus. It is a man-made, and we should be very aware about that. And this is the consequence of a very bad education. People who are doing that, they are not aware about that they are hurting everybody on Earth and also themselves. Energy is vibration, and vibration propagates everywhere. It is not just me, it propagates everywhere. There is no separation between me and outside. And this is what Swami explained about that. The objective and the subjective. If I pollute the external world, I also pollute myself. If I produce one virus who will hurt many people, I will also get back this virus into my body. There is only one earth, there is only one air. And the outside air is the inside air. This is what I am breathing. I think that the main problem is the lack of wisdom. People now have a lot of skill. They learn many things. Many technology are available, but they don't have wisdom. And why they don't have wisdom? Because they didn't experience that. Theory is theory, yes, of course, and we can apply that. And the application is the assimilation of the knowledge. Experience of the theory, experience of the energy is the key point of everything, because it will integrate this knowledge into my body. And when I integrate that, I can learn wisdom. For now, education is only knowledge, skill, and not wisdom. And this is why we are facing many problems now. And this is why education for total consciousness is really relevant, because this methodology, this unique methodology, is always going back and forth between me and outside, between the subjective and the objective. If I experience that inside my body, if I experience this wisdom, after, how can I try to put some bad energy in the world? Because I know that it is also my energy, it is also myself, and we need to change that. We need to bring wisdom now. Otherwise, we will lead to a very big catastrophe in the world. And there is an urgent need for that. I think the theory is very relevant because for now, nobody knows exactly what is energy. Energy is vibration, but nobody is talking about the quality of the vibration. For example, the earth is beating. There is the vibration. It is the vibration of the body. The frequency is changing. Everything is changing. When I am angry, when I want to strike someone, my heartbeat frequency is increasing, and I will destroy someone by the words, by action, and so and so. When I reduce my frequency, I keep I keep myself quiet, and I am happy. The frequency is changing, everything is changing, and the frequency is given by the thought. So if we can teach to the children to be aware about their energy, it changed everything. When I'm doing something, when I am angry, I can be sure that it will be a very big problem after. And this problem will come back to me. So the frequency is changing, everything is changing. And as Kiran said previously, first we need to teach the thought, then the emotion, because the emotion is the chemistry which integrating the energy inside the body. And from the thought and the emotion is coming the deed. Positive thought, low frequency thought will lead to positive emotion and lead to positive deed. Negative thought will lead to negative emotion and negative deed. And now we can see the negative thought everywhere. We can see people very greed and so, and thinking only about themselves. And this is the main problem of the earth now. And we need to change that. And it is a global problem. It is not Indian, it is not French, it is everywhere. And we need to change everybody slowly. And we want to have a peaceful world. And this is the aim of the education for total consciousness. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Christopher Dumas, for giving your very enlightening talk about the total consciousness. Now, I would like to invite my last but not the least panelist guest, and she's Professor Dr. Bindu RL. Professor Dr. Bindu is the professor and former head of the Department of Education and Dean, Faculty of Education, University of Kerala, India. Professor Bindu has been working in the field of teacher education for last 27 years. She is chairperson, Board of Studies in Education, Postgraduate, Honorable Director, UGC National Curriculum Development Center and Center for Educational Technology, member, Academic Council and various academic committees of University of Kerala and external expert, Board of Studies in Education, Postgraduate of Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam. Professor Bindu is a member of various academic committee and an active member and office bearer of the many non-governmental organizations. Professor Bindu has guided more than 100 research projects at B.Ed level and several M.Ed, M.Phil dissertation. She acts as a resource person for the IGNOU, B.Ed, M.Ed and M.A. education program in the regional centers in Kerala. She has successfully guided 10 PhD research theses and now guides 10 research scholars, including 2 international scholars. She has published 20 research and theoretical articles in books and journals of national and international repute. She organizes conferences, awareness programs, and workshops on community-oriented issues with active participation. She serves as the faculty faculty minister in the Students' Energy Parliament. Among several honors, she has been awarded the GP's Best Faculty Minister in 2016 and the Most Outstanding Professor at the World Education Congress 2020. Welcome, Professor Dr. Bindu RL on our show. Professor Bindu RL, you have heard what Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, what Dr. Kiran Vyas, as well as what Dr. Christopher Dumas has spoken. Now, we would like to know from you your views on education for total consciousness. Professor Dr. Bindu RL, please. Please unmute, please unmute.
Yes, very good morning to all. Thank you, Dr. Goel, for inviting me for this program. I'm extremely happy that I'm interacting with very learned people and very experienced people regarding a very noble concept, that is education for total consciousness. I think Dr. C.V. Anand Bose has given a very clear picture about Swamiji's vision regarding the education for total consciousness, and added to that, Dr. Christopher and Dr. Kiran Vyas, they have given valid experiences that is first-hand experiences regarding the education that is needed for the hour. And now all of us know that because as the offshoot of globalization, we are talking about an education in a global perspective. And in that global perspective, what are the aspects that we have to give importance or we have to highlight? Because the education for total in a global perspective, it's an approach to education that would incorporate within the existing curriculum a global consciousness itself. And that consciousness itself is rooted on the knowledge, attitude, values, and skills necessary to help education prepare our young people for effective participation in a world that is rapidly changing and becoming interactive and interdependent. But as we see now, because we have a very great, very sound system of education in India, because our ancient culture has given the main purpose of education itself is Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. It's not for a single man. It's liberating the humanity from the worldly wounds or worldly gains, and to have a general consciousness or the interdependence of whatever that is existing in this world. That is enlightening the individual for a sustainable life. Even though we are talking about the sustainability, nowadays it has been embedded in our culture, our wisdom, our education system. But whatever we see now, are we equipping the people or are we enlightening or empowering the individual? I think the education system all over the world, they are equipping the members of the society for a successful life. I think so. But the success is purely individualistic. It need not be in a collective, viewed in a collective sense. But this success should reflect on all spheres of his life. And for that, the student need to understand the purpose of life itself, purpose of individual life, and how it is contributing to the societal life or the life of the society or the life in the world itself. So that consciousness we have to develop. And we see in India, our father of nation, Gandhiji, has envisioned a very good system of education that is equipping the people for a sustainable life. And for him, education is the basic tool for the development of consciousness and the reconstitution of society. And this reconstitution of society is demanded not in the education level, but in all spheres of life, because as we have seen in this pandemic period, everybody is suffering, but we don't have any clear-cut solutions for life. And our education system, how we can equip the students. And Dr. Vyas has mentioned about education from the womb itself. It has been clearly given in our culture. So that culture-based, or even though we are talking about globalization, this local system of education must gain its own significance, its own root, or its own empowerment, its own level of empowerment in the life of each and every individual. Because our language, our culture, our economy, our politics, everything decides, everything has much more importance or much more influence in the field of education rather than before. So, because that decides the role of the student or the level of education that any student have to. And Dr. Vyas has suggested that every student must have a basic understanding of whatever is needed. It's not simply the formal system or the non-formal system or the informal system, even the physical education also. But how can we have a balance among these? The formal system alone will not be contributing to the development of the individual. So the student must have an idea regarding his own purpose of life, his own purpose of education. And much more than that, the responsibility of the student who are engaging in this process of education. Because what are their aims, what are their skills, what are the attitude they have to develop either to their peers, to their family members, to the society. Are they engaging in having this practical gains? So what is the role of the teacher? Even the role of teacher, and Dr. Bose also has suggested the glory of the teacher, or the respect that a teacher gains from his profession or from his commitment to the students. So that commitment, at least the teachers must have that freedom to exercise that commitment to the students. But they are also overburdened. And the students also, we see the curriculum from the pre-KG itself. It is overloaded with information. Are the students needed, or if the students need such level of information or such level of a curriculum for their development? Because we, the policymakers or the teachers, are never, at this point of time, we are never being taking care of these kinds of demands or these kinds of needs of the student. They are given information. They are free to seek information from any part of the world, from any media. They have that access. But even then, the formal system has to concentrate on this, that is focusing on this knowledge, attitude, values, and skills. So what about the values? Science is giving them knowledge. Science is empowering them. And science has the monopoly in experimenting with every kind of knowledge. But it can't go away from philosophy. And that philosophy have been focused on this education with total consciousness. Every knowledge must be empirical in nature. But that should be ascribed to the development of the individual. And if we are talking about this soft skills, life skills, and all the skill development programs, but simply developing the skills for earning a better living or a job or a profession, that will not contribute to the development of the individual. This inner knowledge or his interdependence with the other parts of the life, or whatever is interacting with him during the due course of life, that the student also has to understand, or he has to develop that consciousness. I think that humanistic element is being focused in this education for total consciousness. And for that, humanism and determinism, these are the two aspects or major aspects of this education for total consciousness. We have been experimenting with for years or ages, and Swami has given a clear picture regarding the development of an individual in different states that is connected to this different states of matter, that is white matter, red matter, and black matter. That is the planes where the consciousness have been enshrined. And this consciousness, enshrining the consciousness, may be leading to behavioral patterns that are acceptable or that are desirable for the development of the student. So all these aspects have been given in this education for total consciousness. And for that, a collective effort from the part of the student, the teachers, and the family members must be there. And that collective effort or that collective consciousness also needs to be developed or need to be empowered for the development, and so that the individual can envision the world or view the world in a more holistic manner. That holistic development has been focused on this education for total consciousness. And this methodology, if better methodology must evolve in the national education policy also, they have given a picture, or they have given some points regarding to start from the indigenous knowledge or the mother tongue, or from the basic level of education. There must be a progressive development in education, giving importance to not to the economic aspects or the political aspects, but the cultural aspect, and also the individual development in a holistic manner itself. So in the education policy also, they have given strategies, but we have the teachers have to search for that, and they have to innovate these methodologies so that we can achieve the goals of this education for total consciousness. That not from the individual level, but in the global level itself. I think we are all talking about it. We are contemplating on that. This level of contemplation may be giving us more avenues, more openings for viewing the world in a better way, and to work for that in a collective way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Bindu, for giving your views on the education for total consciousness. And viewers, you have heard today all the very eminent personalities, professors, scientists, bureaucrats, they have given their views. And the one view is very, very common, that the education system should be holistic. Inner and outer education is required. And for that, Jagat Guru Swami Isha has come out with this about the total consciousness. I'm sure today's program is quite enlightening, although we have to do more programs on this, then only the complete and knowledge can be imparted, not only to the students, but even to the educators. Because if educators will understand how to educate the students, then only we will be able to successfully implementing the education for total consciousness. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se, Samvad Saroka News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic. And tomorrow, from Media Conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m., the topic, because tomorrow is a thought leadership series, the topic is privatization of banks. And my chief guest is Dr. M. Narendra. He's the former chairman and managing director, Indian Overseas Bank, Mumbai. So please tune in tomorrow for Media Conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Dr. Kiran Vyas. Thank you very much, Dr. Christopher Dumas. And thank you very much, Professor Dr. Bindu. And thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose in absentia, for giving and enlightening all of us about the total education for total consciousness. And I'm sure today's program is very enlightening for all our viewers. And if the students as well as the educators will understand it, and if they want to know more about it, they can put a comment on Global TV or V4 News or Karu News or any of the portals, and so that we will be able to connect them directly with the organization. Thank you very much, and thank you all for